Repression taking place by the Spanish state against the people of Catalonia at the minute, where you have an effective occupation of the Spanish state police, where you have the arrests of upwards of 20 government officials now, where you have the seizing of ballot boxes, the seizing of ballot papers, the seizing of over 100,000 election posters. The other day you have the opening of post and you have the effective suspension of Catalan regional autonomy.
Well, thank you to the Deputy for raising this issue. Ireland enjoys a very close relationship with Spain. These relations are, of course, deeper and more textured than simply involving periodic government-to-government relations or developing trade ties or occasional encounters at multilateral events. Our close friendship has at its heart an empathy which is nurtured by generations of contacts between our people, and what happens in Spain is, of course, of great interest to our Irish friends here in this House and in the society that we represent. I am very much aware of the recent developments in Spain regarding Catalonia. Constitutional and political arrangements in any country, however, of the European Union are matters to be determined by their own citizens through their own democratic institutions, very much in adherence with the rule of law. And I don't think can correlate that it would be appropriate for me to comment further on matters that are internal to Spain.
Deputy Murphy. It is precisely democratic institutions that are under threat from the Spanish state government. It is a democratically elected regional government of Catalonia that has called a referendum. A referendum is a democratic act. In Catalonia, the vast majority of people from all backgrounds in Catalonia support the referendum, support the calling of the referendum, over 80% in the recent opinion polls, unlike, for example, in the north, where the legacy of the Troubles remain and sectarian divisions between the two communities predominate. This is essentially a question of democracy. It's a right of people to decide. The Spanish state is a state made up of many different nationalities. And the question is, if the government stands, along with the EU, in supporting the horrific anti-democratic repression that is taking place, the occupation, the denial of a democratic right to the people in Catalonia, or does it side with those who seek to exercise that democratic right?
Minister.
Well, I thank the Deputy for his response, but again, if we look at the most recent referendum in Scotland, this is not something that we included ourselves in, and that debate we allowed the Scottish people and the Scottish referendum system to decide that. As I've said earlier in the House, in reply to a parliamentary question on this topic, or in reply to this parliamentary question, the government's position is that the constitutional and the political arrangements in any country of the European Union are matters to be determined by their own citizens through their own democratic institutions in adherence with the rule of law. And I've already said clearly what happens in Spain is very much of interest to us, but we believe that the issues at hand are domestic issues, and so it would not be appropriate again for me to comment further on matters that are internal to Spain. Thank you.
Asking the Minister to take a position on the referendum. I'm not asking the government to call for a yes vote or a no vote. I'm calling precisely on the government to recognise that the people have the right to decide, and that the referendum should go ahead without the horrific repression from the Spanish state that is seeking to shut it down. You have coercive elements of the constitution of the Spanish state, like Article 155, which denies the national and democratic rights of the peoples of that state. We stand, and our brothers and sisters and our sister organisations in the Spanish state and in Catalonia, for the unity of working people in Catalonia and people right across the Spanish state in defence of democratic and national rights against the right-wing and repressive Rajoy government. It is ordinary people on the ground, those struggling to build a major school student strikes on the 28th of September, the dockers who have rightly refused to assist in the police boats that are currently in Barcelona port, and those pushing for a one-day general strike in Catalonia and in the Spanish state that will defend the democratic rights that are currently under threat.
Minister.
Again, Deputy, I'm going to repeat myself and say that with regards to the question of Catalonia, this is very much a matter pertaining to the Member States itself, to be determined by its own constitution and its own institutions. Again, it would not be appropriate for me to comment further on these matters, but it's through recourse in their own democratic institutions, in keeping with the rule of law, that all Spaniards can agree on the constitutional and the political arrangements that are most appropriate to them.
Question number